Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Center Circle, and I am Jermaine Brown. She has been to one Youth World Cup and a senior one as well. Reggae Girlz striker Tiffany Cameron is eyeing another FIFA showpiece this summer. She has already represented Jamaica at a FIFA Women's World Cup. But little is known about Tiffany Cameron within Jamaican shores. That's because she was born in Canada and rarely comes to this side of the world. But getting to know her will shed more light on the 31-year-old.
Better. Tiffany Cameron is a creative, loving, determined, ambitious, and proud woman. And, I think for me, I wear my heart on my sleeve. And anytime I have the opportunity to represent Jamaica, I always give my best. It doesn't matter what role I have, whether it's in the starting 11, whether it's being on the bench and just cheering on my team. I'm really proud to be Jamaican. I think I bring off a different type of energy. And, my mission as a soccer player is to motivate the younger generation to be the best versions of themselves and to go and fight for their dreams. Before I played for Jamaica, I think I went maybe 2 or 3 times. But now it's a lot more often. I'm hoping in the summer, in June, I'll be there. There's supposed to be a camp there. That would be great. If I'm selected, I'm going to go and maybe spend a couple of days there on the beach and relax,
Her favorite place to visit in Jamaica is Montego Bay.
I always feel like just free there. I don't know. Just the vibe there is really nice. And, Kellets? Have you heard of Kellets? Way out in the country. And I remember I had to get the tub of water and bathe and stuff. I'm like, all right, we're in the country now. And I love that. It's also very humbling as well too, because of course I know how I live in Canada, and coming to certain parts of Jamaica, you're really exposed to different things, and I don't know. I like the authenticity of things, and I'm just more appreciative when I go to certain parts of Jamaica.
Before joining the Reggae Girlz, Cameron played 6 games for the Canadian senior team and appeared at the FIFA Under-17 World Cup with the Maple Leafs.
I remember back in the day, I think Coach Busby reached out to me twice. The first time was while I was playing in Germany, and I wasn't ready yet to convert in terms of playing for Jamaica because I was still quite young and I was in the Canadian national team pool. So I just wanted to see how things went, and I remember right when the Jamaican national team qualified for the World Cup for the first time in history, Coach Busby reached out to me again. So this is we'll fast forward a couple years later. And would you consider possibly competing for a roster spot and going to your first World Cup for Jamaica? And I said, wow, this is a great opportunity to make history. And at the time, I was still with the Canadian national team, and I was still on the pool of players. I wasn't really getting recent call-ups, but I was still involved. And I told myself, this is an amazing opportunity. And some people would say, "Oh, she just went to go to the World Cup." If that was the case, if I just went to play for Jamaica just to go to the World Cup, then I would go to the World Cup and I'd be done. So that wasn't my end goal. My end goal was to make history with Jamaica and continue making history and continue being an asset to the team.
But although Cameron's parents were born in Jamaica, neither of them were instrumental in her joining the Reggae Girlz.
So my dad has always been one of my biggest fans. This is a little bit of emotional for me, but about maybe 13 years ago, he randomly, we went to Jamaica for his father's funeral. And he pulled out this scrapbook of all of my soccer achievements. And I had no idea he had it. And he was just showing it off, showing everyone. And it warmed my heart because, you know, he wasn't really around for most of my childhood life because my mom and him split. So it was really nice to see that, you know, it doesn't matter that maybe he wasn't around as much. He was still following my career and still respecting me as a football player. And, you know, anytime we link up, he always asks how I'm doing and how football is. So he's always been there, you know, but I do have to credit my mom because she has literally been my number one fan from day one. You know, there was a time even that I wanted to quit football when I was 14 because, you know, I had to wake up early in the morning, like 5 in the morning to go to the soccer center. This is when I was playing in Canada at 5, 6 in the morning. And I was so tired. I'm like, I want to be like a regular kid. I don't want to do this stuff. And my mom's like, Tiffany, you have so much talent and you've came this far. Why would you throw it all away just because you want to be like your friends? I think my mom has played the biggest role in my career. And even sometimes when I'm going through some really tough times, she's there to lift me up and give me some great words of encouragement. So I'm really thankful for her always being by my side and helping me.
Cameron is a graduate of the Ohio State University in the USA, where she was the all-time leading goal scorer with 40 goals and earned 96 career points, the most in the school's history.
You know, I got a full-time scholarship at the Ohio State University and went there and broke some records. You know, I'm the all-time leading goal scorer there and I have the most career points there. And, you know, I look back and I remember that conversation with my mom and I'm like, if I didn't listen to her, I wouldn't have been able to have that opportunity and life would have been harder because school is very expensive, especially university, college, you know, and I was able to leave debt like free, which is amazing because I could have been stubborn. I could have been stubborn 14-year-old and been like, no, I'd rather be like my friends and sleep in and party and all that stuff. But I reminded myself that I didn't want to be average because I knew that I wasn't an average player or person. So every time I stepped on that field, I remembered those things. And I also remember, you know, my mom's counting on me. So I can't let her down.
Cameron is currently plying her trade in Hungary, where she plays for Ferencváros.
Coming here was interesting because it was during the pandemic. And I remember my agent reached out and was like, Tiff, there's an opportunity for you in Budapest for Ferencváros. They're a very good club. I promise you, they have very good players. Trust me. Go. And I'm like, Hungary. That was never on my list because usually as a player, you have to give what type of countries like you're interested in going to. And he was like, trust me, Tiff. They're very professional. And he was right. I went there and I was blown away from the talent. And there are some footballers that I'm like, wow, you could play in a top league elsewhere. You don't have to stay here in Hungary. I mean, Hungary is still a good league, but it's not considered the top in women's soccer, you know, but it's so interesting that, you know, you can go anywhere in the world and you can find some really, really good players, you know, and people. And I'm so happy that I came to Hungary because I learned so much. You know, I've been here now for 3 years. I've learned so much technically and tactically.
She has so far scored 44 goals in her 68 appearances for the club. 16 of those came this season from 15 games, in which she also had 11 assists.
I think I'm the most successful here because the players here, they have talent. But for me, when I come into a space, I always give my max, and my mentality is I don't want to lose. even when it gets hard, I don't want to lose. I still want to be the best. I want to give my best. And I think in Hungary, a lot of players are very talented, but what needs to improve is the mentality. I think, when it gets hard, how are players going to raise their level?
Playing women's football can be lucrative for some, but for others, it's just about taking care of things.
It's so different. So I think some leagues, top leagues in the world, they'll pay their players pretty well. So in England, the salaries there are very good. I obviously can't say people's salaries, but I've heard of players getting paid very, very well. In England and Germany, it just depends, especially if they're national team players, but nowhere near the men. So that's the hard part. I think we'll never get paid as much as the men in terms of professional football. But the positive is that each year there's more and more money being invested in the women's game.
And as she continues to fight for equality, the fight that really matters now is for a place on the plane with the Reggae Girls to this summer's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand.
I have not given up. I think every time I'm called up, I have a point to prove. I never get comfortable. Even when I'm doing well, playing for Jamaica, I never get comfortable because anything can happen. And even recently I've had to make adjustments in terms of where I'm playing on the field. And I think the most important thing is if you're going to represent your country, wherever the coach needs you to play, you have to embrace it. It will be my second senior World Cup if I go, and then I had one other World Cup with Canada, the under-17, so it'll be 3, which would be amazing. And it's interesting because I don't think anyone else on the squad actually has been to 3 World Cups. So this would be amazing for me because I would make history on the squad if I made the team.
And just in case you were wondering about Cameron's skin color, it's as a result of what is called vitiligo, an autoimmune disorder that causes patches of skin to lose pigment or color.
I actually developed it. It was in 2016 when I was in Germany. It started with one random spot and I had no idea where this came from. So I've had to really embrace that. And it was hard at first because I take so much pride in my black skin, but I had to fall in love with the new version of me. A lot of people have learned to love me regardless. And I think that's important, The face is a face, but it's what inside that counts the most. And I've learned to embrace my skin. I still think I'm a beautiful woman, and that's all that matters to me. So